So I want to add on to our lesson 1.3 video with a couple things that I saw come up in the book that were not in the notes, and so I want to make sure I cover everything here. So looking at examples 5 and 6. So keep in mind, guys, whenever you see these, that means if I don't know how to do this problem, I can look back at example 5 to see how to do this. Or for this one, I can look back at example 6 to see how to do one of these. But I want to do one with you. So going on off of our last portion, which was on midpoints. So this one is saying we are going to give you the midpoint and one of the endpoints, and you got to come up with the other endpoint. So I'm going to do 48 with you right now. I'm going to write something down here, and then I'll switch over and show you how to do this by hand. So A is 1, 7, and B is... So I'm going to switch over and show you how we would work that out to come up with the answer that you're seeing here for their answer. So it does say that that B is the midpoint of AC. All right, so let's draw this out here. So it said B is the midpoint of AC. So here's A, here's B, and here's C. So if B is the midpoint, that means AB and BC are equal, right? Because it's in the middle. It's the midpoint. So that means if A is at 1, 7, and we know B is at negative 3, 1, what are the other endpoints that we're trying to find, right? So here's the easiest way to do this. Just find the distance. So if I look at, just look at the x's for a minute. So if I'm traveling from A to B on the x-axis, so if I go from 1 to negative 3, how far did I travel? Right? So from 1 to negative 3, you're going left 4 units. Right? So if you looked at an x-axis number line and you went from 1 to negative 3, you would have gone to the left, or you would go down. You're decreasing 4 units. Well, from negative 3 to here, just decrease another 4 units. Right? So if I continue going left another 4 units, where will I be? Right? I would be at negative 7. Right? And so there's my other endpoint. So I'm going to do the same thing with my y coordinate. So for my y values, if I'm way up at 7 and I go down to 1, how far did I go down? Right? We went down 6 units. So from here to here, just go down another 6 units. So if I'm at 1, I go down 6, or subtract 6, you could say, where would I be? And I would be at negative 5. So that's where they're coming up with this other endpoint. So it really helps to draw it out. I would encourage you guys to do that. Let me go back quickly to one more thing that I wanted to show you. My computer's going super slow right now, so give it a sec. It's kind of at the point where if I click on something, it takes like 5 seconds to come up. So give it 1 sec here and I'll show you the last problem. So look at 54. So same thing, only now they're giving me expressions instead of like coordinates. So M is the midpoint of FG. We're going to use the given information to figure out what FG is. Okay, so if M is the midpoint, this goes back to our previous lesson where I said it's always best to write an equation when you're setting this stuff up. Okay, and so I'm going to draw this out on my page. So I'm going to freeze here and then I'll pull you over to my page and I'll show you how we would work this out. Okay, so they said M is the midpoint of FG. They told us that FM is this, MG is this, and they want us to figure out what is FG. What is the whole thing, right? So there's actually 2 ideas here going on. So first of all, if that's the midpoint, just like I talked about right here and right here, if M is in the middle, if it's the midpoint, that means FM is equal to MG, right? So I know that 5y plus 13 must be equal to 5 minus 3y. So if I solve that equation, so I'm going to add my 3y over. I'm going to subtract the 13. And if I divide, I figure out that y is negative 1. So if y is -1, how do I figure out what fg is? So let's just plug it back in. So if I take my -1 and I put it right there, what is 5 times -1 plus 13? All right, it would be 8, right? So I know that fm is 8. Now I could plug this back into here, but if you think about it, we already know what this is, right? Remember, m is the midpoint, so if that's 8, this is also 8. And it should make sense. If I take that -1 and plug it in, I should get 8, which we do. So now I could say, what is fg? Well, 8 plus 8, so fg would equal 16. Right? And so that's how we're doing that last group of problems. So hopefully that you see a couple of those in homework.